Good day, folks. This is video number 5 in a playlist that is devoted to 3D Experience CATIA generative shape design application. There is a playlist which is specifically for the wireframe tab of the GSD, but this particular playlist where the video 5 is going to go into it is for the surface tab. The particular icon that we're going to be discussing is called multi-section surface, and in some software that's also referred to as loft. It is one of the more complicated icons because there is a lot of options and scenarios that are built into the dialog box. Now, when you're in the generative shape design, the ribbon at the bottom of the screen looks like this, and there is a surface tab. We have already done the wireframe tab, but this is a surface tab. And when you click on the surface tab, there's a pull-up menu, and it's got something called multi-section surface. Upon clicking on multi-section surface, this dialog box opens up, and notice that over here it says multi-section surface, and you have to make a bunch of selections. Now, there is an advanced option, and that's where a lot of the issues will lie, because there's so many different ways of doing things that requires quite a bit of investigation. Now, notice that if you expand that advanced option, you get this bottom piece, and under selection coupling type, you have several options, and the ratio, tangency, then curvature, and vertices. For multi-section surfaces, the default setting here is ratio. Of course, you can change it, but the default, without making any changes for multi-section surface, is actually ratio. One of the issues that arise with this, with these options that you have there, the 4 options, is that the name doesn't serve its purpose. For example, notice that it's talking about tangency then curvature. And when you look at it carefully, it says it's really not the tangency that we are interested in, it's the tangency discontinuity that is critical. And the same thing when it's talking about tangency then curvature, what it really means is that curvature discontinuity point, and that is cause of a lot of misunderstanding on how to use this thing. Now, this option, this icon, multi-section surface, also appears in the part design, but it's called multi-section solid, and removal of multi-section solid. When you click on it, you get the dialog box exactly like what you saw in the other case, in the case of surfaces, except that it doesn't say solid. The surfaces, it says solids. Now, it is true that some of the options in the two cases, namely multi-section surface and multi-section solid, some of them are not applicable to the other ones, but we get to see these as we go along. One very important distinction is that when you do multi-section surfaces, the sections that you take do not have to be planar. They do not have to lie in a plane. Whereas in the case of multi-section solid, what I'm referring to here, they must be in a plane. That's a big difference. Exactly the same setup, except that this is only part design and it's not multi-section surface. It's called multi-section solid. And once again, when you select the advanced option, you get these choices. And notice that for the case of multi-section solid, the default is actually tangency then curvature, okay? Whereas for multi-section surface, it was ratio, okay? Now, these are two good help, particularly the top one, and you can use it. Some of the stuff that I do is actually coming from that source. But yeah, so what I'm going to do, I will look at many examples where for each one of them you may be choosing a different scenario or a different option. Okay, folks, good luck.